Welcome to the July the 1st, 2003 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie. We bring you the history of our city of Grand Prairie, Texas, and bring you some very important people that have helped to make that history, and by the way, are continuing to make history this very day. This is our history tape number 491, and we're just so excited. We have a very famous couple from Grand Prairie, Texas, and we're just so pleased that they agreed to come and share their lives with you and with us. And Pat Watson Capps, welcome to the set, my dear.
Thank you.
And Jerry Capps, you're a little far away, but we certainly do welcome you because you're here under duress, left off the last half of your golf game just to appease Pat and maybe
you, Ruthie, not me.
and to really honor Ruthie Jackson with your presence. And thank you so much for being here.
Only for you, Ruthie.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, with your permission, Pat, we'll begin with you.
Okay.
And we would like to talk about the history of the real Pat Watson when you came to Grand Prairie. But first of all, we'd like to give a mini genealogy. Start with your parents' names, and if you have brothers or sisters and would like to name them. And this is your camera right here with Brian.
Basically, my father, Alan Edward Meager, my mother was Helen Silver, and they married and raised us in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have a brother, I have a brother, a sister, and a sister born of another marriage after my father passed away.
All right, would you like to show and tell that? And I think Brian can help us do that. And
this is my stepfather and my mother, and my sister is a local attorney, Donna Easterling, and myself and Jerry, who is retired from the movie business, and my sister Bonnie, who works with the Louisville school system. We came to Texas back when you could buy a theater ticket for 12 cents and 35 cents. We bought the Wings in Texas Theater on Main Street. Now they're both gone. And we built the Uptown Theater in 1950. That's when my baby sister was born. That year, my mother, Helen Fisher, had remarried, and Lee Fisher was our father, who was a policeman in Grand Prairie for a few years until he got into the business of expanding the movie theater.
Yes.
And then my brother got into the business, and I got into the business, and now the only person in the business is my sister Donna, who owns the Uptown Theater, which is now a church.
Yes.
Because the movie theater has changed so much.
Haven't we recycled things wonderfully in Grand Prairie, Texas?
I know it. Every town has that one movie theater that they don't want to tear down. I've told Donna she should sell it, but she was to keep it in the family.
Yes. Now, let's go back to Mrs. Fisher, your mom. When she came to Grand Prairie, Texas with the family, did she come to operate the Texas Theater?
Yes. They came to operate the Texas and the Wings Theater.
Did she build the Wings?
No.
It was already built
here. Both those theaters were here. And it was thriving Naval Air Station.
Yeah.
And we made a lot of money. And my mother was famous for knowing about her pickled snow cones. Every Saturday we had kiddie shows. And that's when you dropped your kids off at the show. In fact, Curtis Anderson, a local insurance man, and Charlie England, our mayor, they worked for passes.
Yes,
they would go deliver calendars, and so my uncle would pick up the boys at the theater, take them out in the neighborhoods, and they'd put calendars on the door.
Yes.
And Charlie and Curtis both tease me about that today.
Yes.
About working to get into the movie theater. And that was a social part of Grand Prairie, a big social.
It really was.
Big social part, the movie theaters back then.
Right about a half block off of Center and what was then Main Street of Grand Prairie before it became Highway 80 recently, 180, and recycled down the line. Well, she was also involved in the community because she was a seroptimist.
Right.
Remember the seroptimist?
Right. She was a seroptimist, and she was in the business. Women. She and Romy Stewart and Emma Dean Barry were called the Three Musketeers.
Yes.
They were young, in their prime, early 40s, late 30s. One of them ran for school board, one ran for the city, I think, and then Mom worked in a lot of charities. But that was before our time.
Yes.
Ruthie, that was when women weren't involved in those things as much.
Exactly.
So she kind of led the road for me.
She is leaving a wonderful legacy of all of her family that were so important.
Right.
And now let's talk about the real Pat Watson. Now,
What about the real?
all right.
Oh.
I want to know where you started to school, in Minneapolis or?
Minneapolis.
All right.
But I went to Lee Junior High School when I arrived down here.
All right. You were in the what was called junior high then.
Junior high
Okay.
school then.
Who was
and,
your principal?
Back then it was the redhead. Gosh, they called. I can't remember.
Mr. Fuller?
No,
No,
it was
before
before Mr. Fuller.
All right. And who was your favorite?
Lindsay. It
Mr.
was
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Who was your favorite teacher at Lee?
The PE teacher was probably my favorite teacher, and was a very good role model. Things were different back then. You know, we had a lot more school activities. There was a lot more social in school and things like that.
Favorite subject at Lee?
Actually, at Lee, probably speech, that type of thing. I was very much involved. And in
Yes.
high school, I was.
How well were you accepted coming from
They
Minnesota?
teased me.
They teased you a lot?
Yeah, they teased me a lot.
They teased
called
you
me
because-
Pot because I talked funny,
Uh-huh.
you know, and they told me I had to get baptized in the Trinity River because I wouldn't be a Texan without it. And I believed
Okay.
them.
Oh, my.
But I have a few friends back then.
Did they know that you were involved in the movie theater?
Oh, yes.
Oh, they
Oh, yes.
Did
Oh,
that
yeah.
give you a plus or a
Yeah,
minus?
Plus, big plus.
Big plus, big plus. And from Lee, of course, you went on
Went to Grand Prairie High School.
Grand Prairie High School, and when you got there, your principal, favorite teacher, and favorite subjects.
Yeah, well, journalism, because I was editor of the school annual and the
You
school
were?
paper.
Wonderful.
And those were my favorite subjects. I don't know. A lot of the teachers were my favorite teachers. I didn't really have one that just stood out. I enjoyed school
All
so
right.
much so that I wish I'd made better. I mean, I was a good student, but not a great student.
Were you into athletics or
Yes,
strictly
played basketball.
played basketball? You have a lady coach or a man coach?
We had a man coach at that time.
Okay, all right.
Then I.
And were you in any of the plays, cheerleading? No?
I guess yes, I was football queen back when the football squad,
Yes, at the fall. Yes.
got to vote. It's
Sweetheart,
really
football
funny. No, I
sweetheart.
said that I was football sweetheart because my grandmother baked homemade bread, and I had the theater. So
Yes, that was a drawing
I mean,
card.
I had a drawing card.
Oh,
So
that's
that was fun. That was a fun year. That's
But
one of the nicest years of my life.
Getting to be football sweetheart is a real coup
really?
for someone
Thanks.
that came from Michigan.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. Oh, that is really wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And from Grand Prairie High School, you graduated what magic year?
I graduated in '54.
In 1954?
And I
Okay.
went on to college at UTA in Arlington for a couple of years. Then I went to North Texas, got married.
Now, wait a minute. At UTA, you got the basics, and had you planned a career of any sort?
I was going to be in business. And
You were going to be in business.
And then I was going to go, then I had got married and had a child, so I decided I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay, all right.
And so I got my teaching degree.
From North Texas? Okay.
And then taught in Grand Prairie.
And then you came back to the city
And
and
taught.
taught in Grand Prairie, and you were hired for where? And
Mr. Witt. Now that's
Mr.
one of my favorite principals.
Mr. Whitt was your principal.
Right, and I had your daughter in class. I just figured out it was a long time ago since it was
Yes.
back in about 56, 57.
And what'd you think about Mr. Whitt as the principal?
Oh, he's a sweetheart.
Wasn't
And
he a
then when he
dandy?
went to Adams to open up, you
Yeah.
know, the new junior high, I was lucky enough to go with him. You know, he got to pick a few teachers to go with him. So,
What'd you teach at Jefferson?
well, I taught 5 classes of Texas history the first year as a beginning teacher, and he laughed at me because I went into his office and said, "I'm bored. You know, this is driving me crazy teaching the same subject 5 periods in a row." And so he gave me the off period of a PE teacher. He gave me an English class, and then the art teacher. The next thing I know, I was teaching art. So I was teaching everything
that
different,
was
from
wonderful.
5 of one courses to 5 of different, and it was fun.
And then you went to Adams. And
And
from
then-
Adams, where?
I had a grant to get my master's degree in guidance and counseling.
All right.
And so I spent a year going back to college to get my master's
Where?
at North Texas.
Back to North Texas.
And then I was a counselor for a couple of years at Bell High School.
At Bell.
Okay. All right.
And that was
then
wonderful. And then what happened to Pat Watson?
I had a 4th child.
Had a 4th child.
And then got into the business with my husband at that time, who's a builder.
Okay.
And one of us had to get a real estate license. And I did it.
You were it. And I need you to name all of the children.
All the children.
All right.
All of my children.
It's right.
Well, I've got the picture of the whole family, but all of my children I will name. I had.
Why don't you show the picture of the whole
Okay.
family? And name
This is the whole family. And basically, there's my older daughter Kay and her husband Rick and her 2 sons, and then Lauren, and then Christy, who has a pair of twin boys that they're 10 years old now, and then Kelly, who just got married last weekend. So I have 4 daughters. Jerry has 1 daughter. He'll talk about, I'm sure.
Yes.
And that's the whole family on Mother's birthday 5 years ago.
Yes.
So.
And your mother was how old in this photo?
She's 86.
She was 86. Okay. All right. That gets us up to your getting into real estate. And
Right.
what happened to you in real estate? All of a sudden now you're famous and doing all this good stuff?
No, it was a challenge,
Yes.
and I think my guidance and counseling
Helped you?
degree absolutely helped me. And I still teach. I teach a course on how to buy a house to basically first-time home buyers once a month at the Chamber of Commerce. And it just was a niche that worked out real well, and met Jerry. Actually, the way I met Jerry was we had built the house for his sister, and when I was single, she wanted me to meet Jerry.
Good.
Jerry
She
met me.
was a matchmaker.
She was a
already.
matchmaker, and so we later dated and got married 15 years ago.
Okay.
Short years ago.
Now, we know about your family. We know now that you're into real estate. I'm going to get back with you in a little bit to talk
Okay.
about your activities while you're in real estate and in the community and all of the good things you've done. But now I've got to catch up with Jerry, because Jerry, it's your time. I would like to know a little bit about your background. Name your parents.
My parents were Addie Welburn, was my mother that lived here in Grand Prairie when she died.
All right.
And my dad died when he was 58, quite a few years ago.
And his name?
It was T.O., Tillman Osborne Caps.
How wonderful. And you were born where, Jerry?
I was actually born in Cap City, Arkansas.
Okay.
My grandfather and my great uncle had like 24 oil wells in a little boom town.
Uh-huh.
And then all that's left now is a little gas refinery, but it's what they call 3 states, where Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas come together.
All right. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Had 1 brother and 2 sisters.
Would you like to name them?
Well, my oldest sister was Gloria, my brother's Norman, and my youngest sister is Faye.
And you lost one of your sisters.
I lost my oldest sister when she was 48 years old with breast cancer. So the rest of us are still alive.
All right. That is wonderful. And where did you start to school in the elementary grade?
Let's see, it's been a long time ago.
Was it in Arkansas?
No, in Hughes Springs, Texas.
Hughes Springs, Texas. Okay. We
Right.
know about Hughes Springs.
And then I moved to Atlanta, Texas, Mount Pleasant, Greenville, and that's where I finished high school.
Greenville is where you finished high school. Okay. That's around East Texas. You really ought to know the East Texas territory well, right?
Yeah, pretty good.
And did you go into, what did you do after you finished high school?
Well, I went into the Naval Air Reserves
Okay.
and spent my boot camp at Hensley Field.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. Oh, you're part of our history.
Yeah.
Boot camp at Hensley.
And then I went to work.
All right. And you married and you have at least 1 daughter. Let's talk about that.
I have a daughter and 3 grandchildren.
All right, let's name your daughter.
My daughter's Terry.
Terry, where does Terry live?
She lives in Arlington.
Okay.
And
she has babies.
Adam is 15 years old.
Adam is no baby, he's 15.
Shelby is 13. And
Okay.
Sarah is 7.
Oh, what a wonderful family of grandchildren. That is just really great. And when you all get together as two families and meld all of these, you'd have to really rob the bank nearly to get everyone something for Christmas, right?
No, I got to tell you a funny story.
Tell me a funny story.
Jerry was in the furniture business for years when I met him. And so he had a furniture store.
Okay.
And so he showed me how to go to the Dallas Trade Mart, World Trade Center,
how
and buy wholesale.
Oh, that is...
And with 5 daughters, I'd go in and they'd say, well, your minimum buy, you have to buy 6 dresses or 6 purses. Or I said, I can do that.
Yeah.
So
5 daughters and you make 6.
Yeah, 6. And plus, I give away a lot of things at Christmas and promotions and things like that. He said the worst thing he ever showed me or taught me was
how to
teach
go
me
to
how
the
to buy
mall.
wholesale.
Yes.
It's kind of like the feeling of going to the Sam's Club, only on a different level.
Yes.
But so we, I still have a small interior decorating store that we do things at Christmas and things to keep that, but it's very addictive. And he was in the furniture business for how many years?
Well, I was in all phases of it. I was in the retail, wholesale, and then the liquidation salvage furniture.
Which one of these was the most exciting of all, Jerry?
Probably the salvage business.
Oh, I just think salvage.
It's like I bought 1,000 rooms at the Anatole Hotel.
Yes.
And I'd buy 300-400 rooms at a time.
Yes.
And take it out of the hotels and then resell it.
Resell it.
But then I like the wholesale end too, because I was a factory rep for like 20 years here in Texas, and then that's how I went to California, and I stayed there almost 20 years. So, in the wholesale end of the furniture.
What brought you back to Texas from California now?
Well, the main thing was just the family was all back
Family
here.
was all here.
Plus, I was in the retail furniture business and Redding, California, and they had a little recession that shut down just about every business in Redding.
Yes.
I found out they didn't buy furniture when they were leaving town looking for jobs.
That is true. That is true even today.
So we all left town just about, because there was like 117 businesses in this downtown covered shopping mall when it started, and there was like 17 when it was over.
Yes.
And I wasn't one of them. So
And you got to come back to Texas.
that's when I came back to Texas.
And when you came back to Texas, how long was it before you met Pat?
Well, it was almost my sister.
Your sister arranged that as soon as you got
I didn't get in
here.
town good until.
Now, melding our two families,
Right.
have you ever talked him into going into the real estate business with you?
Well, he retired about 5 years ago.
I knew that he retired, but
And so that was interesting.
Yes.
He liked golf. He played golf, and I thought, golly. And then we have all these grandchildren now. We have 8 grandchildren.
It's
between
8
us.
grandchildren.
8 grandchildren, and 1 great-granddaughter.
and
So-
we're going to have to name
All those
all the grandchildren and that
And-
great-granddaughter. You've got to name her.
I'll name her, but basically Jerry saw that I was overloaded.
Yes.
And so he got his real estate license, his insurance license, his mortgage banking license. He got every license. And so now, really, we've increased our business as a team.
That's
I
right.
have Jerry and I work together. He's what we call a showing buyer's agent, which means he takes them out and shows them the property. And then I take care of all the negotiation contracts and repairs with the
The
company.
nuts and bolts.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse stuff.
Yes.
And then we have an assistant who speaks Spanish, because the biggest home buying is now Hispanic buying
It is.
in the Metroplex and all over the United States, and that language barrier. So
Yes.
Judy has joined our team. And then we have the management company, which takes care of the properties. So we've really gotten it set up to where I'm enjoying it more than when I ran the firm,
Yes.
because I sold
Because
the firm.
he's really running it. He's the head honcho running
but-
it, and then comes in and tells you now fix
he
it.
calls me his 30-year trained assistant. It gets a joke. It's a joke.
I love
he
it.
thinks it's funny. I don't think it's.
I see that he's smiling a lot about this, and
You just,
Why not? I mean,
I just.
she knows how to do all those things. Been doing them for that many years. So I just turn them over to her.
Turn it over
Here's
to
this
her.
one. I'll go get another one.
Now,
That's a fact.
we know what business you're in, and we know you're working together in business now, but tell me about your activities in the city of Grand Prairie, what you've been on boards or commissions, what you've done with the Chamber of Commerce, any organization that you're working with. I want to know all about that.
Years ago, I was involved as a young woman, in the JCETs.
JCETs, okay.
Yeah, that's the JCs.
JCs.
We had a women's
Yes.
organization. I was president of that. And then when my daughters were in high school, they were on the drill team, and they needed a booster organization. So I was one of the first president and helped organize PALS, which was a booster for the drill team. I've worked on the various charity things. Was active in the church when the girls were little, teaching because they were in Sunday school.
Was that St. Andrews?
St. Andrews,
all
served
right.
in their Crucial movement. That the city, I've served on planning and zoning and on the board of development, and now serve on Sister Cities, and have been serving on it for 5 years.
All right, now tell
So-
me, they know what planning and zoning's about.
Yeah,
and they
planning
know,
and zoning is interesting.
and they know about building
building.
and board of development. But
Yeah.
how about this Sister Cities business? What do you do with that?
We've been working on 5 years to get it off its feet. It's basically taking two cities and meshing them from social, economic, and cultural. And we have 3 sister cities. One we are doing through a federal grant, and that is Kiev, that is in the Ukraine. And we're helping. In fact, the city of Grand Prairie has sent over one of their engineers to help them with their water supply. That was part of Russia, and they took it off. And they've been here with us twice.
Yes.
That's more of Grand Prairie giving charity and help to a country that's undeveloped or underdeveloped.
A city in a country that's
Yeah.
underdeveloped. Okay.
And then in Quebec, we went up there a few years ago and got Charlieburg as our sister city. Then guess what? All the politics changed up there, and Quebec took in all the surrounding cities, including Charlieburg, which now you match up
You
with.
just had a little small group.
Yeah, we had a city that matched Grand Prairie, because you try to match, like you don't.
We don't match Quebec in any
No,
sense
we don't
of the
match
word, do we?
Quebec. So now I am in charge of that, and I have to go through Quebec. So we've really lost that one-on-one. They've
Yeah.
been down here, and we've been up there, and the superintendent of schools and some of the teachers there that teach French have. But it's really kind of sad because that has not panned out as well as we'd hoped.
And your third one?
The third one is Bonn, Austria. Now, here's a real interesting thing, because the man that built Sigmund, who built all the warehouses out on Roy Orr, came to us, and he liked the idea of sister cities being with his. I don't know if it's his hometown or where he does business in Bonn, Austria.
Yes.
His mother lives there.
Yes.
The mayor went over there last year. We're going over there in August. Now, we pay all our own way. It's not any city funds. It is business people in the community.
Yes.
So the Sister Cities program for the culture aspect and blending, we've got just like what we've talked about in the last year about knowing our neighbor.
Yes.
So I feel it's vital. It just has not had the support, and we just hadn't gotten it really completely off the ground.
Do you leave Jerry taking care of the business, or does he get to go to Bonn?
He didn't go to Quebec with me in Charlieburg, but then he met the people when they came here.
Yes, and now he wants to go.
Now he wants to go because it's like going to a city and family meeting you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they picked us up, and by the time you're through, you feel like they're part of. I mean, I had them to my home when they came
Yes.
here, and Mildred had them. Mildred Walker's on the Sister Cities thing, and she had them to her restaurant. It becomes a. If you ever want to go somewhere and travel and meet somebody, meet family at the airport, that's.
Y'all really bond then,
Yeah,
don't
we
you?
really do have a good time, and we do to enjoy. And also, the person that owns the racetrack here is building one or owns the one outside of this city.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 major business people in our community who have ties to Austria.
To Austria.
And so that's another big plus for us.
Yes, it is.
And that maybe we can get this more off the ground.
Okay. Now,
And then, so that's my pet project.
Your
this
pet
year.
project right now.
Yeah,
It's kind of, you put the chamber kind of on the back burner. You were the second woman president.
Yes, I
of
was the second. You were the first.
Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
And you really made a dent in that place. You gave it class and advanced it because you, as a realtor at that time that was really growing,
Right.
you really did put the chamber on the map, and
That was fun.
That was a fun thing.
That was a year I really kind of took. I mean, you had fun, and when you did travel at your own expense. I want to be sure everybody knows that the business people that participate.
Yeah.
It's not that you. We went on trips for economic development. We built the Chamber of Commerce building that year. We had a big gala. It was but it was different world.
Yes.
That's when we were talking about all the utility companies and all the banks were the big supporters. Now the utility companies, even though they support, don't have the local people, and the banks
Don't have presidents anymore.
don't have presidents anymore, and they don't have local owners.
Yes.
We're talking about
That
that.
is true.
So it has changed.
But are you still on the
Yes,
chamber
I'm still
board?
on the chamber board. They
You have been perpetual on the
for
board.
there for a long time. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't even know how to talk about how old. Yes, they passed a deal a couple years ago that they would keep their past chair on their board if they were active. So
If they were active and you
if
stayed
I've
active.
stayed active because I still am very active in business.
All right, we have about 2.5 minutes left on this interview.
Jerry, you want
I've
to name
got
our
it-
grandchildren?
Jerry, I know you've got a little
No.
bit more input to this. You don't want to name the grandchildren.
I'll name
I
them.
don't know if I can name all of them.
You name
right.
what you can, and then she'll fill it in.
Well, I can name the twins. And,
All right, they are.
okay, we'll start off with my daughter.
All right.
Okay.
Adam, Shelby, Sarah. Then we have Christy's kids that are Hunter and Fisher, the twins.
All right.
They're 8-year-old twins. They'll be 9 years old. And then we have JR, who has just provided the first great-grandchild,
All right.
Hallie.
Hallie is the first great grandchild.
Hallie is the first great grandchild. I lost a bet on her this weekend. She
All
walked
right.
down the aisle.
Yes.
Less than 2 years old.
In the wedding.
In the wedding. She walked down the aisle. I couldn't believe it happened.
All right, and
There's
continue
JR
on. All
and
right.
Josh,
Josh.
his brother, which are Kay's two boys.
All right.
And then we have
Ryan?
Ryan, which
Rick's
is
son.
Kay's second husband's boy.
All right.
And that's about it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
You
We've
know,
got 'em all
that
over.
is a really wonderful family. Well, in about a minute and a half we have left, Pat, I'd just like for you to look out into your camera and encourage any of the people that might want to get into business to think about the Chamber of Commerce and the things that are going on. We'd like that encouragement from you.
Well, right now, Judy Munez-Stahl, who is my assistant, who has just done beautifully.
1 minute.
Okay. I encouraged her this week, join Leadership Grand Prairie. It
Yes.
started when I was president. I mean, I wasn't the person that did it, but we got it started that year. To me, to know your city, and I put 2 of my daughters through it, it's $500, I believe, is the cost for a year. It's awesome to mix and mingle and learn all about your community. So if I can say anything to anybody out there, and we have all ages. It used to be the young, but I went through that first class
Yes.
with them, and I just think Leadership Grand Prairie, which the Chamber of Commerce and a lot of cities do, is probably one of the best things for the community.
Well, I want to thank the team of Caps and Caps Incorporated. Y'all are wonderful to come today, and a special commendation to Mr. Jerry, who would rather be fishing, I'm sure, or playing golf, or rather not be on television. But I thank you for aiding and abetting Miss Pat, because you're a wonderful team, and I want to thank y'all both for being here today. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.